We are back. We are back for episode 2. Three Girls, One Office. I'm here with Jen and Steph, and we have Gabe. You know what they say, like, oh, we have a DJ here on the ones and twos. What's Gabe? Like, what is he? What's
DJ Gabe?
Are you? What's a
I
cameraman?
would say he's our producer. He's like he tells us, how to.
But what's his like? Would he be? He's here on the 3s and 4s. What is it?
Yeah, that's right.
The mics and cams. I don't know.
Oh,
But
yes.
I don't know. I just think about when they're like, we got the DJs on the ones and twos.
Yeah.
Anyway, we are back. We are here in Westchester, Pennsylvania. We are at Westchester Studios once again. I have to say, just from watching our first episode back, I want to live here.
Yeah.
I want to live in this room. I want the lights, the mic. I want it all. This is the perfect spot.
It sure is.
If
It
you
is.
podcast, headshots, photos of any type, you gotta
This is
you gotta
the
call.
place to be for sure.
You gotta come here.
Then they make it
sure.
really fun too. Which is
Seriously.
great.
Seriously.
And they tolerate us. I
And they
mean,
do.
right there.
We
is
have
like-
For now, they tolerate us.
We've not scared anybody
Gabe,
off.
are you tolerating us?
If you want to start a podcast, if you want to start any kind of business where you need photos, video, Simmons Media, Westchester Studios.
Absolutely.
We are talking about love languages today. We are. I am excited. We all give and receive love so differently.
Yeah.
And I thought going into this, I thought I knew hands down what my love language would be. And I was correct for the most part, but I think doing like a little bit of a deeper dive, I
Yeah.
think I may have like multiple, not all of them, but maybe one or two. And then
Yeah.
I didn't think about it about like giving. I just always thought about how I love like to receive.
Mm-hmm.
But I learned a lot more about how I give love as well. And we did a poll. So I have everyone's results here.
Okay.
So I don't know, do you want to
Reveal.
reveal it or do you want me to tell you guys what the public said first?
Yeah.
Yeah, tell
Tell
us
us the
first.
public.
All right. So for Steph, yours, most people thought words of affirmation,
Okay.
with a close second being quality time.
Okay.
Okay.
And Jen, yours was physical touch.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't really have a close second. Quality time, acts of service. Majority said mine was words of affirmation. And a couple people out there said physical touch, but obviously they don't know me.
Yeah.
So,
Let's read the shirt.
I don't think not a hugger.
Not a hugger.
I do
Accurate,
not.
not a
so-
hugger.
I feel like Steph that we're breaking her down. Like we're gonna make her a hugger.
Let me clarify the not hugging thing. I cannot hug in uncomfortable situations because I don't know what the proper response is. So if you were crying, I would internally be like, what do I do? Like, do I hug her?
Sure.
Does she want to be hugged? Does she
Yeah.
not want to be hugged? Does she want to be touched? When I enter a room, I'm more of like a cheek kisser.
Yeah.
Or like, I don't mind hugging for happy occasions. I think it's more that like uncomfortable.
Sure, I can understand that.
Sure.
But like, if someone goes in for a hug, are you like, no,
Kind
don't
of.
hug? You are?
I don't know. Not my husband. I mean, I'll always hug my husband, but I don't. Why would you hug me?
I've gone into Gage and been like, hey, and gave me a big hug, and you hug right back.
But if I haven't seen you in a minute,
Yeah.
you're not coming in every day and hugging me.
That's true.
I don't hug
But
you
I am
every day.
now.
No.
I respect your not a
Yeah.
hugger status.
I'm just not a touchy,
But sometimes
feely
I
kind
need
of
a hug.
person.
I won't come in and hug you anymore. Well, maybe we'll see.
I find it most awkward hugging when if you're leaving somewhere and like some people are hugging and maybe you don't know everyone. Like I just am like, should I hug them? Should I not?
Yeah, that's
It's so
that's why I
strange.
like just choose. I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
I'm like, when in doubt, go right in. Go right in for that big old hug. Like, I love a good hug. And I love to give a good hug.
Yeah,
I'm
I
going to
enjoy
hug
a hug
the
but-
hell out of you guys.
I enjoy a hug. Don't get me wrong, but
do you want to tell us? Do you want to start?
okay. So I will say, my nephew Jacob and my nephew Brandon responded on this, and they know me very well, and they nailed it. I am acts of service.
I love that.
I love it too.
And it's the giving and receiving. I mean, I always like want to go out of my way to just, make people feel special or do things for them or make their life easier.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it's to a fault because, like my husband says that I coddle the kids. which I kind of do to a point. So I know there's a happy medium there.
Mm-hmm.
And I just so appreciate when people do things for me
Sure.
and it's not asked, you know?
Yeah.
My husband, the big thing he does is he's gotten up at the crack of dawn or before like bed, he'll like say he's walking the dog and he'll take my car and like fill it with gas.
I love that.
So I don't have to worry. And I get in the car, I'm like,
Yeah.
wait a second, what?
Yeah.
Like that's just
great.
such like, because I hate having to get gas. So it's like
Yeah.
such a nice, something like that's really nice.
Sure.
So, you know, it makes sense for me. But some of the other ones, I definitely see a little bit of myself and all that, but definitely acts of service.
All right.
Mhm.
Good. Good. So that okay.
Yeah,
So I'm
yeah,
just
yeah,
looking.
no,
So not many. Yeah, you're just Brandon and Jacob.
Yeah, everyone else.
That's
but,
cool.
But I can see where I mean, I love to pump people up and
Yeah.
Yeah.
all that. So like,
Yeah.
I can see where people guess the other ones, and
Yeah.
I love spending quality time with people. But yeah, acts of service. I took the quiz. I know that's what it is.
Yeah, we took the quiz.
We
We
did.
took the quiz, and I was not surprised by mine.
Okay.
But it was a good quiz.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
It
Yeah,
really
It
is.
kind of makes sense. Like out of it's probably something you never thought about.
Sure.
I know people talk about love languages, and I'm like, and you two were more so talk about it than I. And I was like, I don't know if I have anything to like add to this topic, but it is actually really interesting.
Yeah, I think it kind of forces you to like think with like, how do I want to receive love and how do I give it? Like for me, those were two different things totally.
Yeah.
Which I thought was interesting.
So what's your
So for me, it's totally physical touch. Like I love a good hug. I definitely have tested my husband in like the car. Like I'll put my hand down like on the car he's driving, I'm in the passenger seat, and I'll just see like, is he gonna come over and like touch my hand? He fails it every time. I don't know how, but you know, like that's kind of I feel like I feel most loved when I am getting physical touch. And even with my kids were younger and with my husband, like I just want to love up on them, cuddle, do all those things. But as my kids have gotten older, it's more quality time. And I think that's interesting because it definitely evolved over time. Even with my husband, like it definitely has evolved. And like when we were young and, you know, didn't have kids, we could spend time together, just he and I, you know, whatever it is. But now as we've gotten older, those times have changed a little bit. You know, the kids are all over the place and that quality time is just less and less. So, you know,
So it
I would
becomes
say
more special.
for sure, I would say physical touch is how I want to like give it and receive it a lot. But I also think that quality time is like key, especially like with my family and my mom. Like those times are so precious and treasured as I've gotten
the way
older.
I like to receive love is words of affirmation. And I felt like I knew that. I really like it when somebody is like, I'm proud of you, or you did a good job, or like just makes you feel like, okay, I'm on the right track. I just, and I do enjoy, and I said this to Steph yesterday, like I came down the stairs the other day and like the dishwasher was empty and the sink was clean. And there are no gender roles in our house. Like Joe does I do things, Joe, I take the trash, whatever. But to come downstairs and the sink, be nothing in the sink, that is like
the best.
It's a beautiful sight.
ultimate for me. Like I just, loading the dishwasher, dishes is like,
Yeah, I'm not a fan.
Go Joe V.
I
Go
know.
Joe
And
V.
I, I married somebody complete opposite. So, do not touch me. And Joe is a very physical touch type of person. And sometimes I'm like, okay, I'm sorry. Like and he's like, can I just get like a high five? Like, could you give me something? And then I feel badly, but I'm just not like a touchy feely person.
Yeah.
And
I'm
when
not
I
really either.
when I get into bed at night, Joe is very quiet. For those of you who do not know, Joe is very quiet. So we'll be sitting at the dinner table. He's usually either working or he's on the phone. And that's when I think you should talk about your day, right? Like if you're, and when you're busy, and then we'll get into bed. And that's when I want to just like lay and watch TV or read a book or something.
Sure.
And that's when he wants to like cuddle or like talk about his day. And I'm like, no, he calls it pillow talk. He's like, this is pillow talk. I'm like, no, it's not. No, talking about your day is not pillow talk. Like but he is so different from me, but he does clearly know me because for Valentine's Day, he had this book made for me.
Oh, the cutest.
So that's me and him.
That's so sweet.
adorable.
But I want to share with you. So it's just a book, and it's just kind of like, it's just words of affirmation. Just
That
you know.
is the
I mean, first
sweetest
of all,
thing.
could that be any more like me? Look at me. I mean,
Oh my
look,
God.
the
I
shirt,
mean,
the teeth.
It's
I-
perfect.
I love,
Joe's a little. I mean, he looks a little wonky in there, but
I love that.
it's just such a cool
That
thing.
is-
Totally unexpected. Like I was just like, wait, this is so
Oh, I
funny that
love
we're going to be talking about love languages. But I want to show you if you had to guess what Joe Voci would say is his favorite part of me, what do you think it would be?
Oh.
Appropriate answers only.
Okay. I was gonna
Change directions. Okay. We're
I would say how honest and kind you are.
yeah.
Physical though.
Besides the physical.
This says
Because you said not to.
your neck is so amazing.
Your neck. You do have a nice neck.
You really do have a nice
It
neck.
says,
It's lovely.
it holds your head onto your amazing body so well.
Aw,
I just
Joe.
this was just something so fun, and I just thought it was like so.
Joe seems like he
Oh.
would love to give gifts too.
He's
Like-
a good
like
gift
he
giver.
probably
is a
would
good
just.
gift
He's a good gift
Hence
giver.
the book.
I know.
I mean, that's a good gift.
He's a good gift giver.
I mean, I loved Joe V 10 minutes ago. I love him even more now.
Yeah, that's really
honestly.
sweet.
He yeah, but I just thought it was interesting when I opened
so
it. I was like,
sweet.
oh my god, that's so funny because we're diving into love languages
Yeah.
and words of affirmation are now. I think my giving love is the same thing. I love to like make people know how much
Yep.
I love and appreciate them or when they're doing a good job. I love a handwritten note. I love to write a handwritten note. I love to receive a handwritten note, like something in the mail.
Yeah, someone
It's
took
not
the
an
time.
Amex bill.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, like
Yeah.
someone took the time and they thought they were thinking about you and they took
That's true.
time out
Yeah.
of their day
Yeah.
to write you a note. That's
Yeah,
nice.
something I
That
just
really
feel
is nice.
like, and that's what I miss about working in a building is
Yeah.
there was always something in our mailboxes, like a piece of candy,
Aw.
whatever, a pencil,
Yeah.
whatever, and like to check the mail and like get something that's just for you is like so cool. I love a handwritten.
Yeah,
note.
that's and we
That's
lost a lot of that with like texting and
Yeah.
stuff. So that handwritten
yeah.
thing is very special.
I always get really sappy, and my brother's like, "Oh, get the tissues." Every time I give him a card or anyone a card,
Oh.
he's like, "Oh, Steph, it's got to be a tearjerker."
Oh,
But I do like to,
yeah.
I do like. I mean, I guess I might be like a words of affirmation person too.
Mhm,
yeah.
I might revisit the quiz and see, because you can kind of tell what answer is going to get you to that final
Yeah,
result
yeah,
you
mhm.
get.
Yeah.
But I love pumping people up. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like, who doesn't? Like,
I know.
I love
I
to make. If you make someone feel good, it's just going to make why not be kind and make someone
Yeah.
feel good and
Yeah.
happy. And
I
then,
always feel like if you have the chance to make someone happier,
Yeah.
like totally do it. You'll
Yeah.
never regret that. Like
Yeah.
No.
if it's giving a little gift or a handwritten note, like
Yeah.
like to me that's
Yeah.
the most special thing
Yeah.
you can do.
Yeah.
and sometimes like that something you say like, wow, what if you get like your hair looks great or your
Yeah.
makeup looks great or whatever. It's
Sure.
like, or sometimes you point out things that people don't, or you point out things that they maybe don't realize.
Yeah.
Like anything. I can't think of anything right off the top of my head, but just
Sure.
pumping people up, I think, is the best way to show them.
And
that
like
you-
just out of the blue, giving someone a compliment. That's
Yes.
so nice to do. And it
Yeah.
does make people happier and smile and like whatever it even is.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it's just a special thing to do.
or like a stranger in the
Yeah.
supermarket, like, hey, I love your coat or
Yeah.
your
Yep.
whatever. It just
The best is when someone that doesn't normally say much or compliment
Mhm.
gives a compliment.
Yeah.
That really.
It really is,
because you
yeah.
feel like, all right, I deserve
That
this.
is big. But I think, with any of these love languages, and I think, you have to realize, and I think you just touched on this. This isn't just about your partner. This is
Yeah.
about friendships, family. It builds deeper connections. It's
Yeah.
so if you don't know your love language, I think taking the quiz is actually really interesting.
It really is.
Yeah.
It's just something to think about. It's just a fun thing. There is a book about it. There's tons of information online about love languages.
Mm-hmm.
I found that out because I never really thought about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I never really thought about it either, but it forces you. Like my husband and I are total opposites, like you and Joe. And when you do sort of figure out the love language, it kind of changes the game a little bit, in my opinion. Like he is completely different with me than me, thank God, because two of us would not be good
Yeah.
together. But he loves totally different, and and his love language is so far, like when I learned that, it just changed things because I didn't take things so personally. Like him not grabbing my hand, maybe 20 years ago, we've been together for 30 years.
Yeah.
So like 20, 30 years ago in the beginning, I would think like maybe, oh, he doesn't like me as much as I like him or whatever. But now I understand like that's not his thing. But his thing is totally different and special in his way. So it's kind of interesting when you learn those things. It does make things a little bit different.
Yeah. I definitely think that quality time is
Yeah.
probably a big one too. Joe works 24/7. I mean, he's just never not
Yeah.
doing something. And I think a thing that people who do not have children, I think others think that we just like sit at home all day and like look at each other with hard eyes and like, oh, I love that. Like we have nothing else to do but like sit there and just stare and have this quality time. And that's just not, that's not how it is. And it doesn't, just because I'm not running around or chasing kids or whatever, we're not always spending that time together.
Right.
And that is so important to me because Joe, it's hard to get him away from his phone. And he's supporting a team. He's working. He's the reason why I can do all of this fun stuff. And I will never, I do.
Do you
nag
think,
him about it, but I will never.
After today,
it's
you'll
hard.
never
yeah,
nag again.
never
Right,
do it again.
right.
It's hard. It's hard to be like, can't you just stop? And
Yeah.
I know, and then, I mean, I'm on my phone all the time.
Do you think before cell phones and stuff, like back, I'm thinking about when I'm growing up, like my parents, did they spend a lot of quality time together because they weren't on phones? They weren't, this is something more in the past 10 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like people are obviously addicted to their phones
Yeah.
and technology, whether it's for work or, scrolling, whatever you're doing. It's kind of like an escape. Whereas, do you think couples spent more quality time together or do you think they just were quiet a lot? Like, I don't know. I don't remember.
That's a really good question.
I definitely feel like even like with my kids, like my youngest doesn't have a phone yet, but my teen does. And sometimes I'm trying to talk to him, like even in the car when I'm driving him, which is like ideal time to like talk to somebody.
Yeah.
I'm like, you're not answering, and I look over. It's because he's doing his text, and so I just wonder, like, with the world we live in now versus how we grew up, like I wonder if love languages have changed.
Maybe.
That's
Because
a really
it's
good
almost inevitable that you'd have to like, be more present, if nothing else. Like we were all, so I feel like, at least in my situation, I was always much more present without that phone.
Yeah.
Because I am constantly distracted by it. We can work from it. We can play from it. We could.
You're always
Dive into-
reachable. Which
Yeah, you're
is
always
actually
reachable.
not necessarily a good thing.
Yeah.
No.
Like I don't know how I don't remember society so much without technology.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think quality time probably looked a lot different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I and I am so guilty of
Me too.
Yeah.
we're sitting around as a family, maybe like watching a movie together or whatever, and sometimes like I look over, it's the sad truth, but
Sure.
that's
Yeah.
what happens. But I didn't give my husband the quiz yet, but I am curious.
Yeah.
Do you know? Well, do you know? What do you think his love language is?
I would say acts of service,
Oh,
probably.
you'll have to report back.
But it does, statistically, most men are physical touch.
Yeah.
I think it makes them feel like, appreciated. You
Yeah.
know, when you give them that big hug at the end of the day, or
Yeah.
like when they come. And I don't
Yeah.
know. I mean, just so when most men, when we've been talking to them today, our guys here at Westchester Studios, we asked them what their love languages are, and I immediately said, I already know it's probably physical touch because that's what most guys are, but. I don't want to assume that. Like,
Gabe, do you want to weigh in on what your love language is over there, our
you know
producer?
what yours is?
What are they all again? Like, what are the?
They are words of affirmation,
Mm-hmm.
acts of service, receiving gifts, quality time, and physical touch.
Should we guess first?
I would say, if I had to guess, I'm going to say words of affirmation.
That's what I was going to say.
Because of the industry that you're
Well,
in.
I think every guy's physical touch.
All
So
right.
I don't know.
I don't know for sure. I'm definitely not physical touch. That's probably like the least.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gabe.
Probably
Gabe,
words
take
of
the quiz
affirmation.
for us, would you?
Words of
I would.
affirmation?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
Cool.
definitely will.
We're gonna make
Yeah,
it, and we're gonna report back.
Yeah,
We'll
Yes.
see where he
yeah.
scores. Yeah.
We'll get you the
That's great.
link. That's good. I think because of the like being in that industry, you know, you want to know that you're doing a good job.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I think too, as you get older, over 40 in particular, like you do evolve your love language a little bit to sort of adjust with all your relationships because, you know, you just inevitably, I feel like you almost have to.
Yeah.
Because you just learn so much about the other person or your friendships. I mean, just in life, not just with your spouse, but with anybody that you're in a relationship with.
And I think for me, it made me realize that maybe I need to dive into Joe's business a little bit. Get into, you know, I'm not going to rewire a house. Joe owns electrical contracting business, for those of you who don't know. So I don't really have a lot to talk to him about
Yeah.
as far as that goes. So then I thought maybe I need to maybe get into the business a little bit more than just
So you have
running
that,
his social media. This way, at the end of the day, I mean, sure, we can talk about our
yeah.
guys and whatever, how the day went. But as far as like maybe what, I don't know.
Like
It's
you could also be a
interesting
sounding
because-
board. But I feel like growing up, my dad would come home from work and he didn't want to talk about work.
Yeah.
He was like, let's sit down and talk about our day, but not necessarily work. Like he wanted to know how my day was, my brother's day, my mom's. But he just wanted peace, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that's why I think maybe it is important to know
Yeah.
your partner's love language
It
or your
is.
family's because maybe they don't want to, you know,
Yeah.
talk about those certain things.
And you know, a good point to that would be like when my husband does like speak to me in my love language, it makes it that much more special because I know that's not his.
Yeah.
So we work together really well that way. But we did work together for a little bit, and I didn't like it.
Yeah.
He would ask me to do something for him for work, and I'd be like, I don't think so.
That's interesting.
I don't want to do that. So we didn't work well together, but in our like real life, it works really well
Yeah.
together. Us being opposites.
I worked with Joe in a different capacity many years ago.
Oh, you did?
And I worked in the office and kind of answered the
realize
phones
that.
and stuff like that. And I did not like it
Worked
because
for you.
I can't do customer service like with adults. So
Yeah.
if I was on the phone with an angry customer and then he had to go into that home and deal with that same angry customer, he couldn't come home and kind of vent to me because I'd be like, I don't care because I dealt with the same thing.
Yeah.
Like I could not be a supportive partner.
Interesting.
And you
there.
probably realize that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
And
obviously you moved on and
yeah.
to
Yeah.
a different career and
Yeah.
so
Exactly.
that makes sense.
I just didn't like he'd come in and be like, could you print out this paperwork? And I'd be like, no, you print it out. Like,
Are your fingers broke? Like,
yeah, like what's wrong with you?
Yeah.
I'm not going to do that.
So do you think opposites attract in this case? You know, they say opposites attract.
Joe is so different from me. I can't even like you guys know. We are so completely different.
Yeah.
Wrong
I could
eye.
talk to a brick wall, and he could sit in a room for in silence for days and not even care that
Yeah.
nobody spoke to him. He's just like a thinker and an
Yeah,
observer.
Rob's very quiet too. He's internalizes like his thoughts sometimes. He doesn't feel like it's everyone needs to know his every thought.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
he's not as sensitive as me. I feel like I
Yeah.
need to talk about things.
Yeah.
You know.
Same.
Mhm.
So with love languages, it's interesting. I was starting to dive in my research for the
Yeah.
pod. I was
Yeah.
starting to dive into like some don't work apparently, like
Oh.
in relationships. You know, even friendships, anything.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if that's true. I just was like diving into
Yeah.
it. But I'd have to like sit down and really analyze like everyone I know versus me and see
Yeah.
that. But
I will say sometimes when I'm feeling down or, you know, just not into myself, I will sometimes rewatch like my Woman of the Year videos
Yeah.
to hear something nice
it took
about
me a while.
myself that I may not, you know, think about myself. It did. It took me a long time to
Yeah.
watch those videos because as much as I like to hear like you're doing a good job, to hear
Sure.
something
It
in
was-
depth like that,
It was a little
it was
It's
Very
overwhelming.
yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And it's emotional
Yeah.
in a lot of ways because
Yeah.
it's all true.
well. I'm curious.
Stuff.
I'm going to really pay more attention to this topic now in
Yeah.
my daily life because I am curious if it will deepen my relationships.
Yeah.
Just kind of respecting
Mm-hmm.
what other people might need from me as opposed to what I just want to give them.
Yeah.
You know, people may not want my hug, but they might appreciate,
I
you
feel
know.
like that's directed toward me.
No,
I'll always
but
seek
like,
your hug.
you know, I mean, you know, maybe a little like note would be helpful if someone's having a bad day or just doing something special for them where they aren't expecting it as opposed to giving them the big old hug.
Yeah.
D.
I'll take your hug.
That is
Yeah.
special though. The word that's something a very good point because I do think about that. Like with I especially think that the older generation, my generation and above, really do appreciate that note, like a handwritten thank you note.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My mom would be like, "Oh, you know, write a thank you note. Make sure." I'm like, "No, I'll just text," and she'd be like, "Write the thank you note."
Texting.
So
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, it is something special, and it does, like, it really
Yeah.
does make you feel special, or like that
Yeah.
person really took the time to tell you that they appreciated what
Yeah.
you did. So, you know, it goes both ways. You're giving words of affirmation, and then you're receiving it. So that's kind of interesting.
Yeah, texting's tough because I know you know,
Yeah.
I'm guilty of it. Like even when you're sending what's meant to be nice, it can come across. Or if you're emailing it by
I
mistake, my
know.
dad used to caps lock
Oh,
all his emails to me, and I was like, does my dad hate me?
Yeah.
And he's like, oh no, because he worked with, he did accounting. So a lot of times with that, whatever he was doing, he would have his caps lock or certain, whatever he was typing. And he was like, oh, I don't mean to do that. I'm like, do you understand everyone you're sending an email to thinks that you're
Yelling.
like,
Screaming
at
at
them
them.
or mad at them? And maybe you are, but
Yeah.
I don't know. But like, I was always worried. I'm like, oh, I think he's
Yeah.
mad.
I think in the
Amazing.
interest too, like of love language, like you know, finding a relationship in your 40s. We should touch a little bit on that because it's you know, I have friends that are single in their 40s, and finding a relationship in your 40s versus finding them in your 20s is totally different. The way people date now is totally different. So I think honing in on what. I think as you get older, you know what you'll accept and what you won't in a way
Yeah.
someone treats you. And I think when you're younger, you're sort of like having fun and you can kind of overlook a lot of things. But as you get older, it's really important to know what you want and what makes you feel good. If you don't grow old with someone together, like, you know, getting and finding a relationship, it's important to know how you want to be loved, like for sure. And what makes you happy.
Yeah.
It makes for a healthier relationship. For sure.
Definitely. I agree.
And in your 20s, you might not realize that. I mean, these
Yeah.
these things may be the last thing a 20-something's thinking about because they're in their 20s. They're
having
living
fun.
their
They're
best
still,
lives.
yeah, they're still having fun.
Oh, the 20s.
Oh,
Yeah.
Mm.
But, you know, when you get to be a little bit older, just communication, relationships,
Yeah.
they become, well, you've had them longer too. I
Yeah.
mean, think about that. Like,
Mhm.
you've been with
Yeah.
your, you know, spouses or, you know, just, you know, the relationships you have with longtime friends
Yeah.
or like siblings, whatever. It's just, it changes.
It does, and I think I've seen a lot of you know friends in particular, or like in a circle, like have left relationships because they knew like this isn't what I wanted. You know, what I wanted when I was 20 or 30 is not what I want in my 40s or 50s, and that's okay too. Like you accept certain things or you don't. Like that's just the way it is, and I think. You know, you learn so much about yourself, I think, as you age, like
Yeah.
in your 40s in particular, because you hit a certain time in your life where, you know, maybe you're not running after little ones, or maybe you're like in a career that you've been in for a while, and you really decide, like, what am I going to accept? What makes me most happy? Because we are now on the second half of life, and I'm going into that second half with experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I think that that's important to know.
Yeah.
Totally.
And I look at my parents, like my mom especially, she's such a communicator.
Yeah.
She's always been, but like, yeah, like now it's just, she's so wise, you know? Like the minute something's not going right, I'm like, my husband always makes fun of me because he's like, you better check with your mom first. Because I just, you know, like our parents have these life experiences or whatever, you know, so sometimes you go to them because, you know, just like our kids come to us or our friend, you know, younger friends in our lives. Because it's funny, like I actually, you know, we do have friends at all different ages.
Yeah.
But so it's just interesting to see how everyone differs and what works for them.
Yeah.
I was not a good communicator. I mean, I'm still probably not, but I definitely think that I'm better. I was the more like shut down and just until
Yeah.
you don't feel that anymore. And I think in the last few years, I'm like, why? Like, why would I just not say how I felt?
Yeah.
Because I was afraid of hurting someone or
Yep.
whatever. But it's just so much different now because you realize like
Yeah.
what you will accept or that you want to work on things and
Sure.
shutting down. Other people just don't understand it.
Plus years of therapy. I mean, I did therapy for years. I think therapy is such a great tool. Therapists definitely help you open your eyes to what you will accept.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how you should, you want to be treated, how you should treat other people.
Mm-hmm.
Because, we're learning as we go.
Yeah.
And everything in our lives.
It's our first time living. It's
So
our first time
I will
living.
not sit here and act like I know everything whatsoever, but I definitely know more than my kids.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so, like, back when I know for me, I'll speak for myself. When I was younger, I didn't maybe value my parents' opinions as much as I do now because I didn't realize, like, they've had all this experience. They've been through it all. So, like, now I can learn from them and lean on my mom when things are tough and for her to give me, like, her wisdom and her knowledge.
Help me.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not really, like, a great communicator. I don't like to talk about feelings. I
No.
think we've discussed that. And I completely shut down. Or I'm on the other end where I'm like, if my husband and I have a situation, I want to over communicate it, and he's like, oh my God,
Yeah.
we've talked about it 400 times. So I can go either way, but I always feel like getting someone's wisdom or their knowledge is so key.
Yeah.
I agree.
Learn from each other.
That's right.
So basically, I just want you guys to just tell me how great I am all the time.
We will.
And
We will.
send me love letters in the mail.
I'm going to write you a note, but I'm
gonna
going to
give-
deliver it with a big old hug. I have to do it.
No. Just put it in my mailbox.
Fine. All
And
right,
feel
I'll
free to
respect
put
that.
gas in my car anytime.
Yes.
And,
Yes.
Yeah.
It's all
If
good.
Joe wants to make us one of those books, I won't be opposed to it.
You
I'm fine
know,
with it.
Yeah. It was nice. It was
Yeah.
super sweet.
I have to know where he got this. Is it on the back?
Love book.
So cute.
Love book. I don't know.
Well,
To
I
look it up.
hope that others got something out of this conversation today. I'd love
Hopefully.
to hear if people would share with us. If they haven't taken the quiz,
Yeah.
take the quiz. It's all you have to do is Google it. It'll come up 20 different ways.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear your love languages, and I'd love to hear if they're surprised at ours.
Yeah. Totally.
The
right.
ones that guessed opposite. So
Ooh.
we're gonna start having some special guests on.
Yeah.
The next guest, I have a feeling some people will know who the next guest is, but if you have any health and fitness questions, definitely shoot them our way. That's your clue.
Yeah, and maybe we'll post the link to that love language test so you can all
Yes.
take it.
Yes.
It's very interesting.
We will do that.
All right.
For
We'll see you
sure.
next episode.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.